Good day, everyone. Welcome to our Quantitative Research course. I am sure that you are excited to learn a different type of research. We have a little background on this last year, but this year we will try our best to make it simpler, easier to understand, and usable as well in our future academic endeavors. You might ask yourself, why do I have to learn this kind of stuff? Something like that. But don't worry, we will help one another to be able to survive and thrive on this research experience. Since this is our first lesson, this topic will be less difficult than other topics that will be discussed in the future. But since this is the first topic, this is the most important topic, for we will be understanding the definition, the characteristics, and the research designs that are under this type of research. So if you are ready, please prepare yourself. Let me share my screen. Kindly please wait. How is everyone doing? Our topic is Introduction to Quantitative Research. And these are the following learning objectives. Define quantitative research and its characteristics. Determine the strengths and weaknesses of quantitative research. Differentiate quantitative from qualitative research. An overview of quantitative research designs. Now, please watch this video attentively and take notes if possible. We will recap important ideas we can get from this supplementary video.
Do you know how the world solved the problem on coronavirus? Many professionals like doctors, scientists and other researchers are gathering data from all over the world to research on ways how to solve the said pandemic. That is why I'm here to teach you things about research, for you to appreciate its importance in our life. Since you are all done in learning qualitative research last semester, we will be focusing now on quantitative research. What is quantitative research? Do you have any idea? In our session now, we will add more of your knowledge on quantitative research. Quantitative research highlights numerical analysis of data. It is concerned with numbers and its relationship with events. Quantitative research is an objective, systematic and empirical investigation of observable phenomena through the use of computational techniques. Now, let us proceed to the characteristics of quantitative research. Quantitative research is objective in approach. It seeks accurate measurement and analysis of target concepts. It has clearly defined research questions. The researchers know in advance what they are looking for. Quantitative research has structured research instruments. Standardized instruments guide proper data collection. It has numerical data which are represented by figures, tables or graphs that showcase summarized data collection. Quantitative research can usually be replicated or repeated, given its high reliability. The methods can be repeated to verify findings in another setting. Those are the different characteristics of a quantitative research. I hope you understand now what a quantitative research is.
Okay, so in a world of uncertainty, in a world where problems and challenges are being faced by human beings, we are in a point of curiosity, wanting to find the solutions to problems and more. There are many things you wanted to know in this world, like people, places, events, and a lot more. And since we wanted to really find answers to our questions, we are actually following what our research is intended to for us. Because research is the acquisition of new knowledge. Take note, it's new through a purposive, organized, and designed program of activities. So when we are referring to organize, we are following an order or a plan for us to pursue a systematic way of finding solution to the problems that we are puzzled in. Okay, another definition is it seeks to find the answers to the problems and generate new information for a better understanding of the concepts under study. And remember that the data that you are working on or in research do not come mainly from yourself, but also from other sources like books, people, artworks, and the like. So, if that's the case, one cardinal principle in research is to give acknowledgement to the owners of all sources of knowledge that are involved in your research work. Okay, so remember the term giving credit to the owner. CTTO. Okay, quantitative research is a type of inquiry where relations are established through the collection of numerical data, where analyzed to derive generalization. It specifically refers to tests or experiments that yield quantifiable variables that can be analyzed using statistics, figures, and mathematical models to provide information that may be used in decision making. Okay, from the term quantity, it's more about numbers. So earlier we have heard of the characteristics of quantitative research, and we are just reviewing them one by one. So the most essential characteristic of quantitative is its objective. So when we say objective, it is the opposite of subjective. We've heard a while ago that it seeks accurate measurement and analysis of target concepts. So it is not based on mere intuition and guesses. Data are gathered before proposing a conclusion or solution to a problem. We don't have any what interpretation on ourselves. It is not based subjective thoughts, perceptions, or views of people. Rather, we use an instrument to be able to measure our variables. Next, clearly defined research questions. So, in quantitative research, you as a researcher, um, you know in advance what you are looking for. So, the research questions are well defined for which objective answers are being sought. All aspects of the study are carefully designed before the data are gathered. Structured research instrument. So data are normally gathered using structured research tools such as questionnaires to collect measurable characteristics of the population such as age, socioeconomic status, number of children, etc. Numerical data. Quantitative research has its numerical data. Data are in the forms of numbers and statistics and often organized and presented using tables, graphs, charts, and figures that showcase the summarized findings. And it also consolidates large numbers of data to show trends, relationships, or differences among variables. Then we have large sample sizes. So to arrive at more reliable data analysis, a normal population distribution is preferred. This requires a large number of population size, depending on how the characteristics of population vary. And the recommendation is random sampling, which the researcher is not biased in interpreting the result. So to avoid any injustice or biases. Then we have replication. Replication, another term for repetition. So reliable quantitative research can be repeated to verify and confirm the correctness of the results in another setting. So you could actually replicate a recent study, but the method will be used in another setting to verify the findings. And then last, future outcomes. By using complex mathematical calculations and with the aid of computers, if-then scenarios may be formulated and thus predicting future results. Right. We'll proceed to strengths and weaknesses of quantitative research. Let's start from the strengths. Of course, data collection is relatively faster and easier as they will be using questionnaires. But of course, if you are collecting your data personally, your questionnaires may be costly. Useful in a large sample or population because it could speedily generate accurate, precise, and credible results. So you can actually generalize your result for you have used a larger sample size in collecting your data. Data analysis done through the use of statistical software, which will be easier for interpretation. The results are more objective and free from personal bias of the researcher. The samples are randomly selected and are not in a way known or related to the researcher. The study is replicable and the instruments used may be reused to further researchers in the different fields and contexts. The weaknesses, the statistical aspects may be too technical for average readers to comprehend, as this will be using different software such as Microsoft Excel, Office, statistical tool pack, or we call it as SPSS, which are unfamiliar to most of you. However, we are going to be utilizing different YouTube videos to be able to understand how these tools or softwares are being used Too much emphasis on statistical significance, disregarding the importance of the effects involved in the study. So as this will be involving numerical data, the results might be too abstract and expensive for direct application to particular local conditions and personage, because you still have to understand the narrative interpretation of those figures, charts, and numerical data that are being presented in your findings. Results of the study may also be too limited, as they only provide numeric interpretations rather than detailed narrative accounts of individual insights. Okay, that's what I have been telling you. Okay, what is the differences between quantitative and qualitative research and the step of research process? When we specify a purpose for quantitative, it is specific and narrow, measurable, observable data. So you really have to target very objective and specific variable to measure. For qualitative, general and broad participants' experiences. That's why your topic usually starts with understanding the experiences of your participants. For us, for quantitative, you really have a specific concept to measure. For collecting data, predetermined instrument, numerical data, large number of individuals. General, emerging form, text or image data, small number of individuals or sites. So um, a minimum of 30 number of individuals, participants for quante, and for quale, you could have at least 6 to 12 individuals to participate in your study. When we are identifying a research problem, for quantitative, it is descriptive and explanation oriented. Descriptive siya. For qualitative, you explore. You have no idea about it, since you are inductively finding the answer to your questions. Whereas for quantitative, you have a guess. You already have a hypothesis in which you will be testing whether your hypothesis is true or not, whether your claim of guess or hypothesis could be proven true or not. Okay? When you are reviewing the literature, what is the role of your RRL? For quantitative, it has a major role. For qualitative, it's minor. Why? Because for qualitative, you just have to justify those, you just have to use your literature as a justification for the research problem. For the quantitative, it becomes a major role because you really have to use a lot of supporting literature to back up your point of test or experiment. You justify a research problem and specifications for the need of the study. And we call that as research gap, in which there is a lack of information from the existing body of knowledge, and we are still looking for another primary source of data through different experimentations or non-experimental research designs. That will be discussed later on, the research designs. Analyzing and interpreting data for quantitative. Of course, you will be using statistical analysis, description of trends, comparisons of groups or relationships among variables. So if you are looking for the effect, the cost, the differences, the relationship between two variables, remember that's for quantitative. Please do not confuse yourself from quantitative to qualitative characteristics. Because for qualitative, we are just analyzing the text, we are analyzing descriptions, and we are using thematic development, the larger meaning of findings. So more about meaning. For quanti, more about degree or levels that we are measuring from two or among uh, variables. When we are reporting and evaluating research, of course, it's standard and fixed, objective and unbiased for quanti, and for quali, it's flexible and emerging, reflexive and biased, as this has been focusing on the subjective view of the participants. Let's begin understanding some research designs. So our objective is just to provide you an overview of the important research designs that you will be using in this type of research. The first one is descriptive research. A descriptive research design is concerned with describing the nature, characteristics, and components of the population or a phenomenon. So this design is trying to find the general attributes of the presently existing situation. What am I trying to say? We are determining the frequency. When you're using descriptive research, for example, um, the research wants to know how many hours senior high school senior high school students spend in social media. What are other frequencies that we are trying to measure? The number of malnourished students who failed in the achievement tests, and how healthy is the food served during the recess in the private school. So we are actually determining the frequency with which the general attribute occurs. Okay, next, survey research. This is the most familiar research design. It is used to gather information from groups of people by selecting and studying samples chosen from population. So it may be done in various ways like face-to-face, phone, mail, and online survey. So a survey research may be cross-sectional if the information is collected from a sample in just single point of time, just like the child rearing practices of single parents and population practices of unmarried couples. So we also have what we call a survey research that is considered longitudinal if the researcher collects information on the same subject over a period of time, sometimes lasting many years in order to study the changes through the years. Longitudinal survey, if utilized, for example, is to determine the growth of rice yield in the country and the rate of promotion of doctorate degree holders 5 years after earning the degree. So basically, we are trying to so you have to remember there are two types of survey research. We have cross-sectional when you just get information in just a single point of time. And for longitudinal, if You collect information on the same subject over a period of time, probably 5 years ago, and then you repeat them and try to a little bit compare if there are progress that had been occurring from the same subjects that had been researched on. For causal comparative research, it is also known as ex post facto, after the fact. Okay, that's the meaning. Research. This kind of research derives conclusions from observation and manifestation that already occurred in the past and now compared to some dependent variables. So it discusses why and how a phenomenon occurs. For example, a research is interested in how weight influences stress coping levels of adults. So, what are your variables? You have your weight and stress coping levels. So, here the subject would be separated in two different groups. We have the underweight, normal weight, overweight, and their stress coping levels measured. So, this is an exposed facto design because pre-existing characteristic, which is the weight, was used to form the groups. Okay. Correlational research. A correlational research looks into the degree of association between variables. So this is a very systematic investigation of the nature of relationship or association between among variables without necessarily investigating into causal results. Remember, keep in mind that when we are only looking at what the degree of relationship is for correlational, from the word relational, it doesn't seek causal reasons underlying it. Whether it is a positive or a negative relationship, it doesn't matter. You don't have to seek the, the reason behind its positive and negative relationship or no relationship at all. It is also concerned with the extent of relationship, extent, the degree, level. For example, if pre-board examination results can be used to predict performance in the licensure examination for teachers, then the higher the pre-board grade, the more likely be the score in the LET exam. So we have two variables there, pre-board examination results and the licensure examination for teachers. So you are determining whether your variable, first variable, has its prediction or has its influence to your dependent variable. So correlational research is employed if you like to know, for example, if the following factors are related to each other, like if the following factors are related to each other, like sex, mathematical ability, and mathematical ability. Marriage and cancer recovery. What else? Occupation and lifespan. So if you wanted to know whether it has an effect or it has a relationship, then try to find or try to use correlational research. For experimental research is one where a group of respondents are randomly selected to undergo a particular researcher imposed treatment to determine the effect of such treatment. So this research, remember, utilizes scientific method to test cause and effect relationships under conditions controlled by the researcher. So in this case, there is an effort that is being made to determine and impose control over all the other variables except one. Okay, because you have an independent variable, we will be I will be giving you a brief understanding of these variables, even if we have a separate lesson to discuss on this. But for the meantime, just for this concept, I have to um, give you a glimpse or overview on variables. An independent an independent variable is manipulated. It is manipulated to determine the effects on the dependent variable. For instance, a teacher would like to know if a new teaching strategy is effective or not. So he or she teaches one section using the new strategy and teaches another comparable section without the new teaching strategy. Then an achievement test was given to the two sections. The manipulated independent variable is the new teaching strategy, which is being tested if it has an effect on the dependent variable, which is the achievement of the students. Notice that the sections are comparable with one another, meaning all other variables are controlled by the teacher. So I hope that's clear. Next meeting on our virtual class, please prepare for a short quiz on the concepts that we have discussed today. All right. Thank you so much for listening attentively. I hope that you somehow understand the concept of quantitative research. Our next lesson will be about introduction to variables. So if you wanted to have a short background on it, you can try to look for different videos explaining on variables in the internet, or you can also try to browse some information on that in the websites. God bless everyone. Stay safe. Prepare for a quiz next meeting.